So it wasn't just that Binyam Girmay won Gent-Wevelgem, it was that he won it with swag. And I know, it sounds agonizingly, cringingly white for me, a middle-aged white dude, to apply 20-year-old hip-hop terminology to the first African to win a major spring bicycle race. But did you know the term swag and that connotation dates back to at least the 1600s, where the Jacobean drama The Tragedy of Sir John van Olden Barnevelt describes a company of men as handsome swag fellows and fit for foul play. And in fact, the lines are spoken by Maurice of Orange, whose family would later rule over both Ghent and Wevelgem after... What do you mean this is making it more cringingly white? But yeah, Binyam Girmay. Gent-Wevelgem was not the day to be impressed by the 21-year-old Eritrean's chops on the decidedly gnarly racecourses of Belgium in the spring. That day was Friday at the A-Tre Saxo Bank Classic, better known to us Anglophones as E3. He may not have the smoothest cobbles technique yet, but the power and race sense were on point, easing off after finding himself with a gap on a highly unfavorable stretch of road and just missing the winning break on the Paterberg at 42k to go. You could, I guess, say that he let the winning move go. That is a take you could indeed have, but it would be a bad one. Fast forward to Sunday's Gent-Wevelgem. The course is less hard on paper, but paradoxically more challenging. Potential for serious crosswinds and dozens of likely types of finish, from full-on group sprint to long solo escapes, even occasionally towed into contention by a neutral service car in the closing kilometers. When it's interesting, Gent-Wevelgem can be one of the toughest races to read. People also definitely noticed Girmay's performance on Friday. Grabbing fan love and camera time in the start village does not happen accidentally, and I mention this to say that it's not like the peloton didn't have prior warning that the guy is dangerous. In fact, he seemed to be underperforming in the early going. He's well down and going backward on the first pass of the Kemmelberg at 83k to go. That said, he still makes it into an early selection a few K later, and this is what I'm talking about when I say swag. Right here is a nervous point in the race. The group is in echelons. This could be the start of a winning move, or it could be a waste of energy that takes everyone in it out of contention. Girmay wraps up his turn at the front, dices a chicane, and then promptly sits up to take off his arm warmers. He is completely at ease, straight back, all the way off the bars, zero correction to his direction of travel. Like, there is nothing that could possibly happen here that would negatively impact his performance. Or at least, that's the aura he's projecting. And I should additionally point out, his arm warmers are already down. It's not like he's overheating. He's just standing here like, yeah, you know, this was kind of uncomfortable. I'm gonna take these off. What, there's something else I should be paying attention to now? God, it's an absolute flex. Anyway, that move would come back. Jumbo-Visma would dictate the action for most of the next 40-ish kilometers, but despite throwing some heavy swag of his own, taking a feed over the top of the final pass of the Kemmelberg, perpetual race favorite Wout van Aert is unable to get a persistent gap. And as more and more groups make their way back up to the front to join him, the vibe is definitely trending toward group sprint inevitability. But when Jumbo's Christophe Laporte launches, Girmay is right there with zero hesitation. Sure, there are 24 largely flat and wide kilometers left, but his decision here is total. This is going to be my best chance to win the race, and I am taking it, no doubt, no hesitation, no hedging, no questions asked. Now, this is also a good decision for a number of reasons that I'm not going to get into, because we're talking about swag here, not tactics. Putting thought into the tactically correct decision at a moment like this tends to be how you end up in no man's land here with Rasmus Tiller and Greg Van Avermaet, who even at his Roubaix winning best was never a paramount swag example. Alright, so the Laporte move goes clear, builds a potentially race-winning gap, and then starts to turn on itself. Girmay decides he's going to sit off on a turn around 4k to go, and Jesper Stuyven has feelings about that. And I mean, Stuyven is the type of guy you would expect to find here. He's been top 10 in basically every major classic. He's won at least 3 of them. The dude is so Belgian, he makes chocolate in his spare time. So yeah, he's going to have opinions about when it's okay to skip a pull. And Girmay, who's never been here before and looks nothing like anyone who has ever been here before, is going to jaw right back at Stuyven as he closes the gap. Just mwah! No stress, no flinch. Yeah, cool story, bro. Not even slightly intimidated. Fast forward to the finish, Laporte kinda does hand the group a gift, popping to the front for the whole final kilometer. But look at this. Here's the launch of the sprint, 250 meters to go. Definitely on the longer side, plus there's a headwind. Girmay is right here putting all the chips on the table with this early jump, and no one else in the group is willing to match that wager. And you know, once Laporte finds the gear, he makes a solid case that he could have beaten Girmay if he'd been willing to take the risk in responding sooner. Tactically, easing off makes sense. Stuyven's fast enough to win group sprints at Grand Tours. If you put me in Laporte's pedals, getting overhauled after going too early is definitely top of mind. But if you were to swap in, say, Mario Cipollini, he's just going to pick a moment, lay down watts, and not care about anything else. And in fact, in a very similar situation at this very same race, that's pretty much what Cipollini did. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the intellectual satisfaction of a tactically savvy performance, and Girmay and his Intermarché Wanty-Gobert squad made some great tactical choices on the way to taking this win. But for my money, it's the self-confidence and swag that the Eritrean put on throughout this chameleon of a classic that takes his historic win and makes it truly awesome. I'm Cosmo Catalano. This has been a How the Race Was Won video, which just so happens to be a registered trademark of mine. For the purposes of engagement, I'm supposed to ask you to subscribe, smash that like button, and leave a comment. But honestly, the best way to bother me about cycling stuff is on Twitter @Cyclocosm. Cyclocosm is also the name of my extremely occasionally updated cycling blog, cyclocosm.com, and you can periodically find me on Instagram as well @HowTheRaceWasWon. While I frequently do make videos with fully licensed content, this particular video may make sparing use of copyrighted material without permission for purposes protected as fair use under the Copyright Act of 1976. All rights to that content are retained by the copyright holders and their licensees, and no association should be implied between those parties and myself, this video, and the ideas expressed herein. Every reasonable effort has been made to clearly and accurately identify copyrighted content so that the curious viewer may further engage with it at an authorized source. Thanks for watching all the way through to the end. Here is a breath mint.